welcome back to Smacking Off the Podcast. I'm your host, Shannon Madden. I'm joined with Doug Phillips, my co-host and producer. Doug, what the fuck's going on?
The fuck if I know. Is Saban is he packing his shit up yet?
I really like that. I'm going to use that throughout the show, just so you know. I'm sorry. I heard the lack of excitement in your voice, but as this podcast goes on, I think tonight you're really going to come around to this. See, you're starting to feel it already, aren't you?
Maybe some of our guests are. Robert?
We're joined with Dr. Balls. Bob Arthur, what's going on, man?
What's happening, guys?
Living the dream. And we're also joined, her grand re-debut back on the podcast after I had her blocked on Facebook. Ladies and gentlemen, Shannon Russell. Shannon, it is so wonderful to talk to you tonight. It is so wonderful to talk to you tonight because we have, of course, we have not spoken to you since Ed Orgeron was announced that he is leaving the program, and I know you're pretty happy about that.
Yeah. I mean, I don't dislike him as a person, but I knew from the day they hired him it was a mistake. I mean, he obviously cannot maintain an elite program. I've been saying it for a long time. I said it before the 2020 season started that, I'm not saying he doesn't deserve some credibility for the 2019 national championship, but it's obvious that there were a lot of playmakers, around him that made that happen. And of course, I
would strongly argue him more than any other national championship coach. A couple Auburn coaches come to mind. He was probably had the very least to do on that staff with the national championship. I think maybe some third string kickers probably had a little bit more to do with that championship than he did.
Credibility on that would be the
fact that he showed up, that he actually had to. He was contractually obligated to show up and pretend like he was the coach. He did a great job of that. He looked like the coach there for a minute.
I would give him credibility for his ability to recruit. He got Joe Burrow to come and play for LSU. I think he deserves some credibility for that and for getting the right coaches like Joe Brady. So, like I said, he deserves some credibility. But
now, you're not making this statement simply due to the fact that most of the girlfriends at Ed Orgeron has chosen kind of look like you? I mean, seriously,
no,
if you put those chicks' pictures next to your Facebook profile picture, y'all can kind of pass for sisters. I'm just saying.
Yeah, well, but it wasn't.
How well do you know Ed Orgeron?
Probably better than you, but
I mean, that's kind of what I'm hitting at, maybe. I mean, because you are throwing some love for a second. For a while there, you were kind of down on him, but I don't know. Did y'all happen to bump into each other at a park running or something like that?
No, nothing like that. I'm not bragging. I'm just saying
that's a good one too.
He deserves some credibility.
No, he doesn't. No, he doesn't. For what? What does he deserve credibility for? Absolutely fucking nothing. Absolutely nothing. Maybe a couple wins over some smaller tier schools, but for what LSU was expecting when they signed that big fat contract for him, man, he just took a big giant steaming dump all over it and used it for a cum rag.
Well, yeah, I mean, that's where I fault him. It's like, maybe he got overconfident, got the big head, and he's, for whatever reason, if it's his personal life or whatever his excuse is, he definitely has.
Oh, man, come on. Look, it's not just, and you can't just, you're brushing with a really broad stroke here. His personal life has bled directly over onto the football field, literally onto y'all's football field. I mean, the massive amount of disrespect that he showed the title of head coach for LSU. I mean, you as a fan should be absolutely infuriated and give him no credit whatsoever. I'm just saying.
Well, there's mixed stories.
Let's give it to Bob. Let's give it to Bob for a second. I want to get a different opinion on this because we both have pretty biased opinions about it. Bob's kind of neutral. Come on, Bob.
Well, so in my opinion, you've got a guy that's perfectly suited to run the program at LSU in terms of his personality and the fact that he could have bonded with the fans and had a lifelong job there just because of the fact that he seemed like he was a good ass. But that his behavior is so outlandish that he basically mortgaged all that away. So that's how bad his behavior has been at LSU, that somebody that you can totally...
And look, any modicum of success that he's ever had has been with other people's recruits. And I've heard all this great talk about what a great recruiter he is, or this, that, and the other. I guess we're going to find out in the transfer portal this later this season.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
Well, he is a good recruiter. He is a good recruiter, and he did, from what I understand, and things I've read about how it all played out with him and Joe Burrow, that he was the main one that sought him out and convinced him to come to LSU. So, that's where, if I had to give him credibility on one thing or in one area, it would be recruiting. Not to say that there wasn't other coaches.
The only credit that I can give him as far as recruiting goes, I mean, just definitively, is down at the local bar, because those little blondes are hanging out with us. Just, oh, man, he's got some cuties down there. I didn't think Ed could pull that. I mean, because, Ed's no spring chicken. I mean, he's those are some lovely ladies that he's been kind of hanging out with. Shannon Russell.
Well, I'm sure the lore is the fact that he's the head football coach of LSU. So, of course, that gives him a lot of
and that's kind of skeezy if you think about it. I mean,
But-
and look, that there's the Title IX allegations, which we hadn't even begin to touch on that, and that's some pretty damning shit. That shit is so damning that it's probably going to prevent him from getting a job elsewhere for a good long while if it finally comes down the way that these things sometimes usually go.
Well, no elite team is going to be fighting to hire him. That's for sure, with or without the Title IX.
I mean, I don't think that there's going to. I think it's going to be so bad that he might have to step outside of the Power Five to kind of work his way back in. Arkansas State.
No elite team is going to want him. So he's tarnished his name and his credibility, as well as his ability to maintain a elite program. So he's done as far as that goes. I mean, he's leaving with $17 million on top of what he's already made. So, I just think he's just wants to just be single, play the field, and live on his money. I mean, I guess no shame in that.
Well, here we want to give you a chance to go ahead and talk about any rumors you might have heard by addressing what's going to happen next for LSU. And
yeah,
y'all sound concerned. Y'all sound worried.
I'm not.
No, absolutely not. No,
Y'all must
go back and look at the lifetime record between Alabama and LSU, and let's talk about word.
You either A, are concerned and going to play poker face, or B, you just want to make a mockery out of it.
The only coach that would really concern me at this point, and speaking of fallen angels, would be if somehow, some way, Hugh Freeze is able to weasel his way back in.
That's what was on my mind.
I think because of the nature, and I think because of the nature of what Ed has wrought there, the culture that he has wrought, which, I can't blame the culture there entirely on him. The culture was there before he got there, Les Miles. But, there's been plenty said about that. And LSU's just, I don't know what it is. Saban set the bar there, left, and nobody else has been able to. Well, I mean, Les Miles brushed up against it, but that's about it.
Well, here's the thing. I've heard fans mention Hugh Freeze, but anybody that knows who they're considering, what the inner circles of LSU, I personally have not heard that name come up. I've seen.
What is the biggest name? What is the biggest most?
But not.
What is the biggest name that you've heard yet so far? What is the biggest one you've heard so far, Shannon?
I know what you're driving to there, Madden. The biggest name out of all of them, like the best option, or just rumors or whatever.
I'm talking about aiming for the John Madden type kind of thing. John Madden's going to come out of retirement and coach them for a couple seasons. Oh my God, I can't believe how big this name is. What's the craziest thing you've heard so far?
Well, and before I say this, I was as shocked as anyone else, and I also will say that
Texas.
I don't 100% believe it. I'll believe it when I see it. I'm just sharing information that I heard, and like I said, I mean, if I had to give a percentage on what I think the possibility of it happening, it would be less than 50%. But it's not impossible like a lot of the Bama fans want to believe. You never say never. It's not totally impossible.
What do you mean? What are you talking about Bama fans? Why would Bama fans be upset about or worried about this?
I'm getting to, but I don't want to throw the name out there until I explain how it all came to
I think you just did. You went through there was a lot of words to not say the name of the person you're talking about.
Are you gonna let me talk?
I mean, I'd like to hear a name. I mean, but I guess you just gonna say what you're gonna say. I guess
after I say the name, you have to let me explain where this surfaced before you
say the name. Just tell me the name, and you can do the explanation after the fact.
Say it again. It was kind of cutting out. Say it again.
This is torture. You're doing this on purpose now.
No, I'm not. I want to know what the last thing you said.
I want to know what the fucking name of this coach you're talking about is. What is the biggest name of coaches you've heard out there?
King Nick Saban. I had to wait for the background noise because I knew it was coming.
Yeah. So wait a minute.
Let me explain, and without interruption, let me explain where all this surfaced. And again, I'm not giving 100% credibility to it because lots of things can change. But you're
not giving 100% credibility to the statement that Nick Saban might possibly leave the Alabama Crimson Tide, a place that he owns.
Listen to me. What did give me?
I'm just making sure I got this straight. Go ahead. I won't interrupt again. I won't say another word.
So
not another word. I won't say a single thing.
All right. So what?
Not talking.
If somebody would have just said that name, I would have said, yeah, right. But the circumstances surrounding that talk, that conversation, makes me think, well, maybe it's a possibility, or I could see there being at least an offer on the table and a conversation, at least to Jimmy Sexton. Obviously, that he's going to be the first point of contact.
How much money do you think it would take to get for LSU? Because LSU, you just said it a moment ago, are still on the hook with Ed Orgeron for $17 million. That is a lot of fucking money.
That I've already wrote a check to pay him off.
That's signing a good top tier coach for 3 years. That's a 3-year contract right there.
That wrote a check
at $5 million plus a year. And then you add some incentives on the end of it. But $17 million, that's a lot of money out of the gate. And then you're talking about how much money would you have to throw at Nick Saban to get him to leave Tuscaloosa? Doug, you might be able to rattle this number off the top of your head. What's Saban getting paid now?
He's the highest paid coach. He
makes,
like
not enough.
He makes really close to $10 million a year.
Yeah.
And of course, if you're gonna woo Saban, which Saban has how many years left in his contract at Alabama? What is it? 7?
2028.
So 7 years.
Yeah, but those contracts don't mean anything.
So you would have to offer it, and of course, it's going to have to be a lucrative offer because LSU's in shambles right now. Their football program is in shambles. We're not just talking.
Money. We're top 10 for the schools that have money. We're not broke. That's not.
I ain't talking about money, girl. I'm talking about all these Title IX allegations. I'm talking about all this negative press. I'm talking about the fact that y'all just had a coach in there that has caused a really negative culture on the team currently. I mean, that's a big mess for a head coach to go in there and straighten out, suss out. Not James Franklin mess to go do it, but you know what I'm saying.
It does not matter. It does not matter. LSU's an elite program, and there are several coaches that would love to come there because they know that it's a hotbed for talent. They know that they can make a lot of money. I'm not saying it doesn't have some negative effect, but it does. It's not. The fact that right now USC and LSU are the two top schools that need a coach.
I mean, the bare minimum that LSU would have to throw at Saban I would figure would probably have to be $100 million over those 7 years.
Oh, we're crazy.
I mean, look at what he's getting paid now. That's not too terribly much more. What is that? 13 a year? 13 mil a year? No, my math's a little off. Probably what?
Okay, will you let me explain? Will you let me explain the circumstances around it? Because this is important. Because I don't want it put out there like somebody just told me this, and they not understand the circumstances that could possibly see this happening. And
I'm calling Sports Illustrated right after this call. After this call, I'm on the phone with Sports Illustrated, and I'm serious. We're breaking this thing wide ass open. Okay, so you better come correct. I'm just saying.
Will you be quiet for 1 second?
No.
Maybe break my concentration.
You know me. I'm gonna sit and run my mouth. Go ahead, but go ahead. I'll shut up.
All right. So I know a lot of Bama fans don't know this. I've made it common knowledge here in the last few days, but they don't listen and they just laugh and whatever. But and you really got to think about this though. But our athletic director, Scott Woodward, and Saban are very close friends, and I don't mean just acquaintances. It's been set on record by two local sportscasters that they vacation together.
Whoa! What are you suggesting here?
Hold on, let me finish.
Are you suggesting that Nick Saban might be having a homoerotic relationship with Scott Woodward?
Man, shut up. Seriously, if you want a
I'm glad I did this podcast tonight. This is awesome.
You need to be on some Adderall or something. Listen, if you want a serious response to this, and you want to seriously know.
There's no way I can take that. There's no way I can take Nick Saban leaving Alabama for LSU, going back to LSU, because he left for a reason. Come on now. You think it was just a siren call of the NFL?
Maybe he's bored with Alabama. He's done everything that he wanted to set out and accomplish. All I'm saying is, don't say it's not possible or throw it out like it could not happen at all. Is all I'm saying.
It is almost entirely out of the realm of possibility. I mean, there's just
theoretically it's possible for pigs to fly out of my ass tomorrow, but it's probably
maybe 15 years ago something like this could have happened. But Nick's also Nick's settled in. He's got a thing going in Tuscaloosa that is very comfortable, very familiar with him. And older people.
Okay, we know all.
We're all older people. Let's go ahead and admit it. We're all older people sitting here talking here.
I got to hear Alabama.
Fewer older than others.
I don't need all the Bama hype. I'm trying to explain to you.
This ain't about Bama hype. I'm just trying to bring this balloon that's sailing off in his face back down to reality.
I get all that. That's everybody understands that. That's understood. That goes without saying. I'm trying to explain to you the circumstances so that you don't just toss this out as it's nothing. And it may be nothing, but I'm just telling you the circumstances around this and the rumors that are surfacing and coming from reliable sources. What I'm trying to say is if Scott Woodward, one of his closest friends, was not our athletic director, I would laugh in their face if somebody told me that Nick Saban would even consider coming back. But what my point is if you're one of your closest friends is Nick Saban, and you're the athletic director at a college, you're going to at least bring it up. I guarantee you the conversation has already happened. Why wouldn't he? Why wouldn't he say, hey, would you even think about coming back to LSU? I mean, they're close friends. And like I said, it's on record. I sent it to y'all that they vacation together. And I can't imagine if I'm that close to Nick Saban, he goes on vacation with my family, and we have that close of a relationship. That conversation has come up, and y'all are fooling yourselves if you don't think that conversation has taken place.
He vacations with that.
I don't know, but that is a fact that they are close friends.
You know that he vacations with Dabo as well.
Scott Woodward, they're not that close. Scott Woodward.
No, I'm talking about
Mark Emmert.
I'm talking about Saban and Dabo.
Yeah.
Okay, but I'm telling you, Mark Emmert, Scott Woodward, but Dabo's not hiring somebody. Scott Woodward is. Scott Woodward, Mark Emmert, Jimbo Fisher, Nick Saban, and Kirby Smart are all close friends. They've admitted it. They've all said it on record. They've admitted it.
So you mean they don't really hate each other in real life?
Their common ground is LSU. They all started at LSU. They all left LSU at the same time, and they have maintained those friendships.
All left LSU.
Scott Woodward followed Mark Emmert to Washington when he left LSU, and he was the athletic director for Washington. Okay.
If LSU's such a great job, why is everybody leaving?
And then Mark Emmert took the job as director, and that's when Scott Woodward transferred to Texas A&M and became their athletic director. And there is when he hired Jimbo Fisher, and everybody was flabbergasted at the amount of money they offered him. But look, now it all makes sense. They're friends. So he hired his friend and got him a fat contract at Texas A&M from FSU. So what I'm saying is that Jimbo Fisher, I know Jimbo Fisher is not Nick Saban, but he is a good coach. If he can, and he beat y'all this year, by the way. Remember, Texas A&M.
I barely remember it.
No, I didn't. I was drunk. I was drunk during that game. I stopped drinking 6 years ago, but I was drunk.
So if Jimbo Fisher's going to leave and take a job at, with his friend Scott Woodward. Who's to say? Who's to say? I mean, part of me believes, okay, Nick Saban's too old. He's got kids and grandkids in Alabama.
Yeah.
I've thought about
the smarter half of you believes that, but go ahead.
but I can see, but they spend part of their year in West Virginia, you know.
Yeah.
So,
Hey, whoa. Maybe, wait a minute. Maybe Saban's going to West Virginia.
Everything's possible.
Oh, shit. It all makes sense now. It's all coming together.
But let me finish telling you the rest of the rest of the story.
Okay.
So here's what they're what I was told what they're proposing that's going to happen. That Saban's going to come to LSU as a favor to Woodward for a couple of years to help rebuild the program, and that because he loves Louisiana talent, that's no secret. And then he is going to possibly take the job at ESPN to replace Corso. And because he's obviously,
Let me ask you this, Shannon. So they hired new Rocky tomorrow, right? How many years of probation is LSU going to be on, and how many scholarships are they going to lose for Duke Rock needs to deal with? So no matter who they hire at LSU, what kind of name they got?
Okay, here's my response to that. And I'm not saying for certain this is going to how it's going to play out, but this is just my thoughts and things that I've heard and things I've learned, and I could be wrong. And I'm not saying that there's not going to be any repercussions for our actions, but this is what that's been discussed in inner circles and what I think. The NCAA does not have the same power that they used to. I mean, we know this by the SEC, forming the super conference. They're basically,
basically by the LSU basketball program pissing all in their face and daring them to do something about it. Go ahead.
Right.
That's what happened.
The connection, and I mean, I'll admit it. We know the connection. Mark Emmert is a former chancellor of LSU, and he hired Saban whenever he was at LSU. And here it's kind of like this.
You talking about the former president?
If LSU unfolds, other programs are going to unfold. And I don't think they're going to be as strict on the repercussions as far as the NCAA is concerned, and maybe even some of the Title IX, because here's why. College football is a moneymaker, and we know money rules. And they saw the devastation it caused to SMU when they imposed the death penalty. It's almost it takes years. I mean, they'll probably never be the same because of that. And you're hurting all of the sport when you do that. And I'm not saying that there shouldn't be some repercussions, but again, they're focusing on the money aspect, and LSU is a big contributor, money wise for all of sports. So that would be my response into, I'm not saying there's not going to be some, we already did a self-imposed 1-year bowl ban. I think we gave up a couple of scholarships, and I'm not saying that's going to be the only thing that happens. I don't know, but I'm saying I don't foresee them being as strict or they're probably tossing around on what to even do, because they realize, and y'all can say what you want, but they realize that no program is clean. And I can tell you, I know this from cultures, that if they blow the whistle on LSU's ready to crack it all wide open on everybody. And because they're gonna protect their own, and we're not the only ones that's done this. And I'm speaking about.
Why does everybody keep saying this? That's the second time this has come up this week. Who was it? Pruitt over at Tennessee is going to blow it all wide open, and they're. Well, we're going to expose all the secrets. I mean, is this when we finally get to find out that all the coaches in the SEC have been paying players to come and work for, well, except for Vanderbilt,
right? And so, and what are we going to do now? What are we going to do about it now? Now kids are getting paid sponsorships. They're not.
Yeah. Once the money started coming in, once you actually started seeing players getting paid and this, that, and the other, then now we can talk about all the old dirty secrets, because it's all out in the open now. Now we can pay the players openly and so on and so forth. I mean, it's incredible. Because don't think for a second those NIL contracts. Don't think that there's not money funneled in from wealthy donors now. I think it's an easier way to front. Remember what's his name? The bag man, Doug.
Yeah.
Danny Cannell.
Yep.
Yeah. Danny Cannell, bag man for the Auburn, the Cam Newton scam. The bagman's he comes in a suit and tie now, comes in through the front door, hands you a contract, and everybody takes a picture of it, and they even put it up on Twitter now.
Right.
Okay.
So, and when people start
Crazy.
bringing up, and for me, I don't know about the rest of y'all, but for me, when people start saying, "Oh, y'all pay players," it really doesn't have the same effect anymore because it's like, well, they're legally getting paid now. Who cares?
Yeah, everybody's getting paid now.
Okay,
And I think it's great because I think it'll eliminate it, but at the same time, the more wealthier schools would.
But do you realize what effect that did to the NCAA? That basically was like an FU to the NCAA. Like, what y'all gonna do about it now?
Yeah, yeah.
But
Once you give some folks some money, you can go fuck yourself, man. I got money.
Title IX is something completely different, though. In the climate that we live in, with everything correct and everything about equality and so forth, they make these Title IX violations. They're going to hang LSU. I don't care what y'all think. If it's straight up the truth these days, if you do something that offends somebody else, then they're going to put repercussions on you. So I think they're going to slam LSU, and it ain't going to have nothing to do with money. It's going to have everything to do with the way people are treated as part of the Title IX investigation.
So anyway, let me give Shannon a chance to just give us a time frame. When should, if this is true, when should we start hearing media leaks on this?
Well, let me just answer Robert's question, and I'll answer it. I promise. I understand what you're saying, Robert, and you're not wrong, and I understand that, but and I know Title IX is different than NCAA and all that, but I can honestly tell you that I don't think someone like Kim Mulkey would have shown up right in the middle of when the investigation started. We were just being blasted in the media, and Scott Woodward sealed that hire. I don't think she would come on board, and it's big. She's basically a Nick Saban of women's basketball. And I see all these other hires he's making, like with Jay Johnson. I don't see these elite coaches, and that's what tells me that they must have been told inside information or promised. It's not as bad as it looks. And from my understanding, there's a lot that they did not prove as well, even with Les Miles. That there was still a lot of hearsay. So what I'm saying is, it could go either way. I'm not going to sit here and tell you 100% fact that LSU is not going to suffer some consequences for that. But I don't think it's on the level that people are expecting, and they should. But it's not. It's money talks, and I think there's a lot of things that are going to be pushed on the rug, or a lot of things.
So breaking news: LSU is going to pay their way out of the Title IX allegations. This is amazing stuff. Amazing stuff.
I'm saying the money in sports in itself, the money that's in sports in itself at any school, Bama included.
We got to wrap. We got to wrap this. We got to wrap this up because time
frame. I mean, obviously, I don't think we're going to announce who our next hire is until obviously the end of the season. So that tells me it's somebody that's obviously employed. So we're not going to know this thing, how this plays out. I mean, it's possible would they announce it after the national championship or in December? Who knows? It all depends on who that coach is and if they're even in the playoffs. So I'll give you some names real quick. Other than Saban that I've heard, and that ones that I think that are stick. I keep hearing Bill Napier, and I do think that he's a good possibility in the mix. I don't think he's the first or second choice. And here's why. He turned down South Carolina, Auburn, and I think Mississippi State. And I think if anything, if he's not holding out for LSU, he's holding out to maybe replace Saban. Who knows?
The Saban to LSU, Billy Napier to Alabama.
I'm not saying that. I'm talking about if Saban stays at Alabama and retires, but he doesn't, stay for the entire duration of his contract. Only because Saban Saban names him as his number one. This guy gets it out of everybody that's coached under me. That's what I've been told on record, that he's like his head, his project, whatever, that he gives a lot of credibility to Napier out of everyone that's worked under him, and he gives a lot of credibility to Jimbo Fisher. I do think Jimbo Fisher is probably an option just simply because of the relationship with Woodward and Jimbo Fisher, and I think Jimbo would come to LSU because he knows what we have here. He's probably an option. And then I think Lane Kiffin's in that conversation. They might be hesitant because of his reputation, but Lane's never really been on probation for anything that I recall. He's never done anything that's really. He's never done like a Hugh Freeze act. You know what I mean? There's rumors how he messed with this one and that one, but he's never he wasn't caught with prostitutes and paying for it with Ole Miss's money. Yeah, I mean. Okay,
Here's my prediction: we will never hear anything about Saban going to LSU through this whole thing.
Probably, maybe not.
But that's
Maybe
my prediction. How
Maybe
about you?
That sounds like a pretty solid prediction. I'm actually going to go out on a limb, and I'm going to predict the very same thing that Doug just said, except with an exclamation point at the end.
Okay, so you coming on with Beeman next week, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Sweet.
Here's 6 things that you can do to help support this podcast. Like, share and comment on our videos. Buy our merchandise. Use our affiliate web links to buy great products and services from our affiliates. And tell others about our podcast. Here's 6 things that you can do to help support this podcast. Like, share and comment on our videos. Buy our merchandise. Use our affiliate web links to buy great products and services from our affiliates. And tell others about our podcast.
Visit the Smacking Off the Podcast Amazon store for awesome collegiate apparel. And help to support the podcast by making a purchase. Go to smackology.life/Amazon.